So we got three big reveals today here to talk on the Transformer Slag podcast. We're doing a Sunday segment because we might have some travel stuff going on later in the week here on the podcast. So you might not get segments later this week. So we're going to be doing a Sunday segment today, and we're going to jump right into it with a store display that was discovered in Toys R Us in Japan. And out of nowhere, we got our very first look finally of the last member of the Constructicons for our Studio Series 86 Devastator, and that of G1 Scavenger. Sadly, it's only the robot mode on display, and it's kind of not the best image in the world. We don't know what extras he might come with, but considering he's a deluxe class, he's going to be the right arm of Devastator, so no doubt he'll probably just come with his little show-accurate gun, and that's about it, really. Looking at the robot mode, it's very clear that his very suggestive connection port that he's had for many years has been modded to now be a flip-down all-ab region to make the connecting point. So that's one thing I could take away from it now that we're able to kind of look at the robot mode properly. No doubt now that this is out in the open, and of course the teaser that was dropped from Takara Tomy proper just a few days ago, we'll probably see something much more extensive of this guy in the very near future, probably a pre-order and a whole bunch of photos and everything. So stay tuned on the Transformer Slag podcast, and we'll definitely have more of this guy with our complete Devastator. Next up, we also have our very first look at the long-awaited Studio Series, and we're using air quotes here, Concept Edition Deluxe Class Widowmaker. I did a whole segment about this girl, I want to say like 4 years ago on the podcast, explaining who she is, how she fits in the story, what happened to her ultimately in the end. So go check out on YouTube the segment, Who Was That Canceled Female Decepticon from Age of Extinction. Very good segment where I kind of go deeply into that so you can kind of understand first who this is. Long story short, it was supposed to be Bumblebee's rival in Age of Extinction, but ended up just being replaced by the lesser interesting character of Stinger. That's it, more or less. So we had a lot of different designs of her floating around for many years through Age of Extinction's concept designer Stephen Jung, and Hasbro now with Studio Series has finally settled on one of those designs, specifically the second concept image that had that notable more car kibble on the body and had a more of a muted kind of pink on it. So what they decide to do this time is kind of go away with the pink and go with a more orange look. Now, originally, she was supposed to be a Pagani Huayra. That was the original design choice. It was supposed to be Stinger and all of that. But Hasbro decided to go in a different licensed car direction than what we already got. And I think it's primarily because we already have Studio Series Stinger that's a red Huayra. So I think they didn't want to do like a reddish pink Huayra to go with that. But there's a little more deeper stuff going on here, because I think the main reason what's going on is they instead decided to take the Widowmaker character and repurpose her as an unnamed, unknown Decepticon that was in the Age of Extinction film. There was this Decepticon that was part of the KSI Decepticon team that was later controlled by Galvatron, and it was an orange McLaren MP4 12C vehicle, European supercar. And while this character never transformed, it clearly was part of the Decepticon crew and everything like that in the movie. And clearly this is now retroactively turned into Widowmaker here with this figure release from Studio Series. So while we could call this a concept figure, like we've gotten with some of the past Studio Series concept figures, this also could be a repurposed figure that now makes sense and is something that is indeed in the film and is just a Studio Series item. Just we never saw the robot mode. Kind of like, I guess we could kind of say with a lot of the Bumblebee movie stuff, where we saw robot modes of guys, but we never saw the alt modes, and we could just call those normal Studio Series items. So while I would have dug, a much more pink Huayra looking design like the concept art, I see what Hasbro is trying to do here, especially with the Studio Series team, and trying to breathe some new life into an unknown background Decepticon character, this orange supercar. So I get what they're trying to do, and that character did appear in the movie, even if it was just an alt mode. So there is something going on here, and I kind of get that. She comes with two guns, and she gives me a very animated Lockdown vibe with a robot mode with the spikes and stuff, really trying to tie her to Lockdown, who was obviously a character in the movie too, but that had a different design from Lockdown and animated. But I see what they're trying to go with there. with some uniqueness. And I dig, it's how she looks. And Evan and Mark are always trying to, find a new way to put female characters in a wave or in a mix somehow. So long overdue for this obscure character, and a good twist of how to kind of take what has already existed officially and kind of merge the two and make something of it. So I dig it. Hopefully we could see more of it on an official capacity, and maybe we'll learn more from the designers too when we see it in a live stream or something in the near future in June. Last one on our list here is the long-awaited one, long overdue, long debated, long discussed Transformers Studio Series 86 Leader Class Megatron. So now we have photos, every inch of this guy, robot mode, tank mode, accessories, scale height, comparisons, and much more. First up, let's start with that robot mode, which, again, I think it looks great. About 95% of the way there for being a perfect Generation 1 robot mode based off of the animation model created by Fleur Deary all those years ago. It's little things here and there that could be tweaked that could make it like perfect. I mean, I look at the MP38 Masterpiece G1 Megatron, the 2.0, and while, I get it, that thing is, has the budget and could do everything and it transforms into the gun. They got to sell us something, and maybe we'll get something better in a few years later. And this is what we got here today. At the end of the day, let's ignore the alt mode for a second. But, the MP38, G1 Megatron, the Masterpiece, was extremely screen accurate in robot mode. And it wasn't just because of the MP budget. I think that was a decided decision to make it look like that. Because, you look no further than, let's say, Studio Series 86 Hot Rod and see how much that is way better than the two past masterpieces we've gotten of Hot Rod. And that Studio Series 86 Voyager just looks so much better. And, this Megatron that we have here, this Studio Series 1, it's almost there. It's almost there, and I think it's a practical choice of that for planning for the future for another release. When we look at the back of it, we could clearly see all the tank elements that are hiding back there. The hip skirt is not completed from the front, and, the back has a good lot of places where you could store the weapons and stuff like that. And speaking of those weapons, he comes with two. He comes with his own alt mode, gun mode, that could be held, which has been an accessory across many Transformer toys throughout the years, as well as his laser sword that was used against Optimus Prime during the final battle of the 86 movie. His back cannon piece is unclippable on a 5mm peg, and that could be held as kind of a small second wrist cannon, I guess, and that's why we have the 5mm peg on his left arm on top of the right arm, too. Now that it's a leader class, he scales quite well with the Commander Class 86 Optimus Prime. But when you compare, let's say, the weakly ported and painted Studio Series 86 Galvatron, which was really just the Kingdom mold, we see now how Galvatron really needs a new mold and an update from the ground up, because he looks very short compared to the Studio Series 86 G1 Megatron, and Galvatron's supposed to be the beefier Unicronian upgrade, and now he looks kind of tiny and weird behind it. So maybe in the future we'll get a better Galvatron at some point, and we'll just have to kind of ignore that this Studio Series 86 one exists in our display. And it kind of just to end the joke and the meme that was going around for a while, here's a photo of him next to Age of the Prime's Leader Class Megatronus, aka the Fallen, because it was rumored for a while, he's going to be a retool or remold of it at the end of the day. So we'll see what's popping with that one. That is clearly not the case here, though. Now, let's transform him into tank mode, and it's pretty clear that while most Transformer toys, the robot mode has to work around the alt mode, and that alt mode has to not look weird by making that robot mode. This time around, we have a robot mode that takes priority, and you could clearly see that they lean very heavily into the animation model, and then the tank is pretty much just made out of whatever comes from that animation model. This looks like a tank that's clearly, for lack of better words, made out of Megatron robot mode parts. I don't want to throw shade at it. I mean, the robot mode looks great, but that tank mode really looks like something I would have seen out of the Transformers Authentics line. It's very bare bones and trying to do the best what it can with what it has from the robot mode. It works. It works fine. There's little bits of part forming going on in some different areas, like the back piece barrel disconnects and makes the front gun tip of the cannon for the tank mode. I think it's kind of maybe a throwback to how like that back piece barrel made the gun tip of the gun mode for G1 Megatron. So now let's make it the gun tip for the tank mode of the barrel of, the tank Megatron here. The gun turret does swirl and it turns, and it at least does that. But at the end of the day, it's all kind of an afterthought. And the true goal of this product is to give us something that is a very G1 Megatron that people could have in their TF display, in general, and work with their Studio Series 86 Commander class Optimus Prime and battle him. So that's kind of that. Looks cool, but I think your mileage will vary depending on what your collection goals are. I've said before, I think that we will probably get a Gun Megatron one day. Might not be tomorrow, might not be 5 years from now, but I know Takara Tomy at some point in Japan will make a Japan-only product that will fit that need for that demographic of the audience. For right now, if we got the fantastic, MP38 Masterpiece Megatron that supposedly is going to be getting a reissue at some point. And if you're a Masterpiece guy and has had this for years, that kind of just fits your collection. And if you pick this up, this is just more to get an interesting twist on a G1 Megatron, if anything. If Masterpiece is not your game, well, this is what you got right now until Takara Tomy does something that'll, fill that gap. And again, I truly feel that once Takara Tomy and Hasbro repaint and retool and use this mold to their maximum, they'll move on to something else and make something better, like they always do in a couple of years. Or maybe, just maybe we're all confused, and this isn't even a Studio Series 86 item. This is a Studio Series Gamer Edition or Gamerverse item of Leader Class Transformers Devastation G1 Megatron. Maybe we're all just crazy, and that's what it was always meant to be from day one. But that would be very funny anyhow. Anyhow, let me know what you think about this. Again, I dig what I see. It's not perfect by a long shot. That tank mode is an afterthought, but I dig what I see. It's something I'll probably wait to pick up. It's not a must-get item for me, in all honesty. But let me know what you think, and thanks again for listening to this Sunday edition of the Transformer Slag podcast and keeping you educated, entertained, and informed on our glorious robot hobby. And I'll talk to you in the near future, and hopefully a whole week of it, depending on how the travel schedule goes.